to welcome everyone again to day 5, our final day of the ninth annual University of Maryland Symposium on Environmental Justice and Health Disparities. I want to thank my advisor, Dr. Jacoby Wilson, for organizing this event and for guiding me alongside my PhD journey. So I'm Vivek Ravichandran. I'm a PhD candidate here at the Center for Community Engagement, Environmental Justice and Health. And with Dr. Wilson, I've been involved with a plethora of air quality monitoring projects, many of which you've already heard about through our various sessions earlier this week. If we close the door, by the way, possible. This one is. So this is the in-person format of the community science workshop. So we already had one virtual format, but I think this is a great opportunity for us to get hands-on experience with some of the emerging low-cost air monitors that can supplement the government monitoring networks throughout the United States to help us achieve environmental justice. So I wanted to briefly go over the objectives of this particular workshop. I want to start by exploring different types of air monitors. So this includes government monitors, the federal reference monitors, as well as the low-cost monitors. We'll then reflect on the need for hyperlocal air quality monitoring to fill in these data gaps. I want to take a quick moment to just demystify hyperlocal. I know many of you already know what that is in our crowd, but for those of you who might be listening on the YouTube live stream or Facebook Live, it's when we have a cluster of 10, 20, sometimes even 15 air monitors to allow us to capture block-to-block differences in air quality. As many of you might know, at the city block resolution, at the block-by-block level, air pollution, whether it's ultrafine particulate matter, black carbon, or other criteria pollutants, can differ by 200 to 400%. So what we have right now is a huge case of misclassification error at the community level. So that's what this community workshop is trying to address. We'll take a closer look and differentiate between mobile versus stationary monitors, the strengths of each. And then we'll take a closer look at the purple air because it's been extensively used throughout the United States, throughout the Mid-Atlantic, and has been used for actionable items. We'll demonstrate the Purple Air Crowd Map, which is a user-friendly interface so folks can access publicly accessible data. And then we'll talk about other sensors that are emerging and can measure other pollutants and have been used extensively in the literature. And then we'll hopefully have time for an extensive Q&A, but we do have a hard cutoff at 12 o'clock. So regulatory monitors. The Environmental Protection Agency, under the Clean Authority Act, is tasked with regulating 6 criteria pollutants. These include carbon monoxide, lead, sulfur dioxide, ozone, nitrogen dioxide, also known as NOx, and particulate matter. Particulate matter is very important because some of these particles, specifically PM2.5, is small enough to enter your lungs and penetrate into your bloodstream. And this leads to a wide array of public health disparities that we observe today. While the EPA regulatory monitors and those monitors that are owned and operated by your state governments, so the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the Pennsylvania equivalent, and the Maryland Department of the Environment, these meet rigorous quality assurance protocols. But as you'll see, they're relatively sporadic. While they're very accurate, gold standard equipment, they can be as far away as 20 miles from areas that they're supposed to represent, which include environmental justice communities. And as I mentioned previously, various studies conducted specifically by ACLIMA. Some of you might know what ACLIMA is. For those of you that don't, they are one of the pioneers of mobile-based monitoring. What they've done is they've equipped Google streetcars with air monitors to capture air quality at the street level. And so they found here in this case, for the San Francisco Bay Area, that the air quality can differ for ultrafine particulate matter, NOx, PM, black carbon, by 200 to 400%. So frankly put, we just can't rely on government measurements. We need to be able to supplement that with hyperlocal, low-cost, and community-driven air monitoring. And just to exacerbate things a little further and just kind of set the framework, polluted facilities have long historically utilized the path of least resistance approach. This was based on a paper that was published 15 years ago, which found that these entities look for financial incentives. I want to bring an example from Cheverly, Maryland. Some of you might have attended that session on Thursday. For the District of Columbia to place a bus yards project in Cheverly, Maryland, which is a predominantly African American community, um, it would have only cost $10 million. For that same facility to be placed in Washington, D.C., it would have cost $40 million. For that same facility to be placed in Montgomery County, which is located to the north, it would have cost $30 million. So these facilities also realize or assume that these communities present the least opportunity for mobilization, and they often host hearings during business hours, which lacks representation from certain communities. So you have misrepresentation. You don't have meaningful involvement of the community members, and that's one of the core tenets of environmental justice in its own right. So I want to present a solution. So enter the low-cost air monitors. These are at a fraction of the cost of government monitors that can cost $10,000 to $20,000. However, this chart on the top right showcases that while they are at a fraction of the cost, they produce as good, if not even better, data than these government monitors. For those of you who might not know what a correlation coefficient is, a value of 1 indicates a perfect relationship, a perfect measurement. Now that's really difficult to achieve, even for the gold standard monitors. But in this case, monitors such as the Purple Air that you see on the far left of the table have a value of 0.9, 0.95. So they're a really good proxy measurement of particulate matter. These monitors also allow us to provide greater spatial resolution. So you can deploy them in bulk. You can deploy them at a mix of green spaces, residential complexes, industry, and other sites. They also have readily available correction factors. So they've been studied extensively, and what you can do, the EPA, for example, has a nationwide correction factor for the PM sensor that you just have to enter as a formula, and then it gives you that very accurate reading. One of the best benefits of these low-cost monitors resides in the fact that users can upload this data directly to the cloud. Others can access that data, and collectively, we can create data sets, huge data sets, with millions of observations to produce reports and have that tangible impact. So there are two types of low-cost monitors, and we'll start with the personal ones. As the name suggests, these are highly portable, handheld devices. So we at the university, at the School of Public Health, are trying to partner with the School of Journalism to do what we refer to as environmental storytelling. So what this entails is we would have residents document a day in the life, an exposure in the life. They would drop their kids off at work. They could wear these monitors, record the data that's coming in. They could take their kids to the park, take the monitors to work. So really gain a feel for the air quality at places where people work, play, eat, breathe, sleep, etc. And these are just a few examples of some of the mobile monitors that we have up in front of you today. And we will be able to pass these around a little bit further into the session. The first is the Aircast AirBeam. It looks a lot like the Snapchat logo for those of you that use social media. It measures particulate matter. I like to call this the mobile version of the Purple Air monitor, which we'll talk about very soon. Then we have the cylindrical devices. We have the Flow, which is produced by Plume Labs. I think it's based in France, actually. And then we have the Atmotech Atmotube. And these two measure particulate matter as well as other gases and volatile organic compounds, which are equally as important to study, because you can have indoor pollution as well as outdoor pollution. The second subset is stationary air monitors. These, as the name suggests again, are fixed in place. They provide real-time data about every 1 to 2 minutes. And these are a few examples of those monitors. The one on the top right is one that's been used a lot. This is the Purple Air monitor, measures PM. The one on the left is the C12 black carbon monitor, as you also see in front of you here. Looks like a treasure chest, and it can also be um, hoisted on a tripod if you decide to purchase that. So it can be placed 8 to 10 feet above the ground, and you can purchase a lock to fasten it and add additional security. And then on the right, we have the QuantIQ Modulaire, which is similar to the black carbon sensor in size, except this measures PM and other gases. So not just black carbon, but other criteria air pollutants, carbon monoxide, I believe, and ozone, amongst others. So you can add different attachments to these sensors, different perks, and customize it based on what your needs are, what pollutants you want to measure, and what the sources of pollution are in your community. All right, so just a little bit about the Purple Air itself. So this, as I mentioned, provides real-time data every 2 minutes. It provides data on three forms of PM. The coarse PM, the particulate matter 10. These are the dust, pollen, mold, and other allergens, generally sneezed out of your respiratory tract through the mucociliary escalator in your system. Affects those who have asthma like myself. But PM 2.5 is really important because these are the smaller combustion particles that come from these industrial sources and mobile sources, and these get deep into your lungs and into your bloodstream. And then PM1, these are the ultrafine particles, so these are even smaller and right up there with the PM 2.5 in terms of your, yes, sir.
Now, I rarely see PM 1.0.
Mhm.
Is there a reason for that?
Rarely see it in.
I see monitors that measure 2.5 PM 2.5.
Yeah, yeah, because PM1 is not a criteria air pollutant according to the EPA. So a lot of sensors, they want to focus on those that are more actionable. So PM 2.5 and PM 10 have standards. So the EPA has its own regulatory standards. But the EPA standards, and I'm sure there's a whole debate about this, they're based on a combination of public health and econometric analysis. So there's an econometric aspect to it. The World Health Organization, or WHO, has its own standards, and those are much lower because they're purely based on the public health research. So we're trying to shift away from the EPA standards and focus on the WHO standards. And I'm sure you might have heard about publication bias, where a lot of studies aren't published because they produce null values, null insignificant findings. So we want to try to make sure we present all the data, even if it's insignificant, so it can add some value to the work. Yeah. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Additionally, these monitors, the Purple Airs, also measure humidity and temperature. And with urban heat islands, with global warming patterns, you can really get into the intersectionality of heat, pollution, and public health. So each of these monitors actually has two built-in chambers on the underbelly, and this is done for inter-rater reliability. So I can go ahead and pass this around. Look at yeah.
Came back to something where you have a laptop or something.
Yeah, so that's actually like a power cable that you have to plug in the device so it can turn on. Yep. So I'll get into this into right here. So you do need a power supply. Normally, it should be an external power supply, so you can measure outdoor air quality. We've had some places loop it through a window. We've had some places use like a, what is it, the in your backyard, that building in your backyard. I'm blanking on the name, like a shed or something like that. You also need stable Wi-Fi if you want the device to read onto the crowd map, which we'll get into on the subsequent slides. Yep, yep. And then when you deploy them, we normally use zip ties to kind of fasten it into place. But based on the site itself, you might need to use a screw and drill it. And that's all going to be up to the property owner, whatever their preferences are. So we don't have to go through this whole process, but this is just how to get set up. So once you plug in your sensor, a light will begin to flash on the underbelly, and that's how you know that it's working. Sometimes some of the Purple Airs, they just don't work, and that's an issue. You have to make sure the light comes on. And then you're going to go to your Wi-Fi settings. So how you normally connect to the Wi-Fi, and you would look for the sensor that says purple. I mean, you look for the name of the Wi-Fi that says Purple Air, followed by the 4 digits of the serial number. So if you look at the Purple Air device, you'll probably see a long name, a serial number, somewhere on there. Yeah, on the front. So you would look at the last 4 digits of that and connect accordingly. And then once you do that, you'll get to this page right here on your phone, and then you'll connect to the local Wi-Fi. So this will be a residential Wi-Fi. Once you do that, you'll be able to register the device, and you can name it whatever you want, and it'll upload onto the Purple Air Crowd map. So when you're installing the device in general, the first step is to do what we call a co-location. What this refers to is the process of partnering with your state environmental agency. In our case, the Maryland Department of the Environment. New Jersey's case, NJDEP. And yeah, this looks very familiar, right? Yeah. Yeah. So this, yeah, we lacked some pictures of co-location, so we kind of reused some of the slides from SWIA's event. But you want to, yeah. So and this is the NJDEP. I believe this is the firehouse site in New Jersey. For us, we use the Howard University Beltsville monitoring location, and of course, Pennsylvania has their share of government monitoring stations as well. And you just fasten the Purple Air into place on a pole, and it'll record data for 2 weeks. You make sure it's plugged in. Yes.
So your device
With the government monitor. That's correct. So you'll let it sit there for 2 weeks. So you have enough data points. 2 weeks is kind of what the EPA's air sensor toolkit kind of recommends. And then you would go back and you would bring the sensor down. And then you would analyze the data to see, how strongly correlated it is to the government monitor. And this co-location process is how the EPA has derived their correction formula. So there's a nationwide correction formula. You just go onto Excel, you hit equals that formula, and then changes the values that you record so that it is actionable. So once the co-location process is complete, your device is ready to be deployed at the community venue. And these are just some logistical items to note. So you want to make sure that the sensor, these are not fully weather resistant. So unlike the other monitors I have up here, so you want to keep it away from direct sunlight because that could skew the temperature values and the readings. And you want to make sure it's away from other sources of air pollution, such as barbecues. And of course, just making sure that the power supply is neatly tucked away to avoid clutter. So now I'm going to go ahead and just go to the crowd map so I can demonstrate that. So give me 1 second. While we're doing that, I'm going to pass around some of the other items too. So, what technology is it? It's a publicly accessible website. And so all the Purple Airs that are registered, you'll be able to access the data. Oh, that might be out of my expertise, yeah.
that portal is managed by the Purple Air.
Purple Air owns it.
But I think it used to be.
Yeah, you can download it now, they charge you.
That's what the price is, right?
Yeah, we was able, that helped us. Maybe you could explain that to that, because now they charge, but it's a way that you can download so you can maximize the amount of information. Well, it's not even that.
Like, does they have like a point system now?
Yeah, I'll get into that really shortly. Sorry, screens over. Yeah, Purple Air is we're looking for alternatives, but it's been so easy to use the data from Purple Air, but I think they recognize that and they have a lot of data on their cloud, so they're trying to monetize it now. But so if you just Google Purple Air, you can do it on your phone or your computer. You'll get the following results. So this is the main website, and then you have this real-time air quality map. So we drag it back to this my screen. Okay, I know. I just have to do it from here, so it's going to be a little bit more tricky. All right. So I accepted the cookie, so it knows exactly where we are in College Park. Yeah. So this is the Purple Air crowd map. So what you'll see is you have all these circles. Yeah, that's the mobile sensor. Swear around your neck. So this is the Purple Air crowd map, and right now we're zoomed in College Park. Each of these circles corresponds to a currently registered Purple Air. The color, yeah, we have a lot. I don't know what's going on in Greenbelt, but we have a lot in Greenbelt. So the green indicates good air, and right now, as you can see on the top left, we're looking at the air quality index based on the PM 2.5 data. So the air quality is fairly good, and if you click on one of the sensors, and it's again a little bit more difficult to do from here to there, but I'll try my best. You have the name of the sensor down here. So this is Daniels Park. And then you have various averages. So you have the 10-minute average, 30-minute average, the hourly average, the daily average, etc.
Yeah, you were a neighbor of yours.
Yep. So someone else registered. This is just publicly accessible. So we're looking at someone else's data.
Instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4,
So the next thing I'm going to do, you can download this picture. This is a trend line, actually. You can also download the CSV data. So if we go here to the settings, this is the air quality index. And this is the EPA's correction. So I mentioned the EPA has a nationwide correction formula. You don't have to enter it using the crowd map. You can just click that second column, second row, apply correction, done. No manual entered anymore. Was that? Automatically. So this is all EPA corrected. And so we want to look at the data for, let's say, 30 days. And see it's a real-time change right now, every 2 minutes. Sorry, I'm trying to see it from this side. Averaging period. You might want to change the averaging period to, let's see, hourly, or sorry, technology, managing multiple screens. So what's maybe a reason why we would look at hourly data? So some people look at 24-hour data versus hourly. There's benefits to both. But with 24-hour data, you can look at the EPA standards for daily averages to see if they exceed the daily standards, as well as the WHO standards. But for hourly data, you can really get into the peak rush hour versus off-peak and really get into the acute levels when PM might significantly rise that you might not otherwise capture with daily averages. So
it's a session you actually get some and locate their monitor so we can identify traffic activity and correlate it with
yeah, like truck counting, kind of. Yeah. We have.
Mike talked about this. So, is that something you've done in the past at all?
So we've also done vehicular counts as well. So we looked at cars and trucks, and we would note this on we would actually collect data like we would go into shifts. So we would record the PM values at that point every 5 minutes, and then how many trucks and cars passed at that point every 5 minutes. But we haven't done cameras. We haven't used cameras or anything like that yet. So additionally, for this map right here, you can actually download the data using this sandwich icon here. Why is it not letting me? It's like under CSVs down here, but try this. Let's click on another one here. St. Daniels Park. Let's try it here. Okay, and then it'll download as a CSV. And this is the issue that we talked about with the purchasing. So if you want to download hourly data, you can only download hourly data for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. If you do 24-hour averages, you get the whole year. So you could do a lot with 24-hour data, but it limits your scope. Can we pull the Excel spreadsheet to the? Can we just do it so whatever my screen shows is what they see? And here? No, for them. So they can see the Excel sheet. I have to move it over. It's like 3 things, this and then also the angle. Okay. So here we have 4 columns. We have the date and time. So if you double click on this, you'll actually get, so this is again, hourly data, but it only begins on September 2nd. You have to pay to get data before it. Okay, clarification. You don't have to pay immediately. So when you create, this used to be very user friendly until they decided not to make it user friendly. Before you could get data for however long you wanted for hourly, but you have to create an account on Purple Air, and it gives you an API key. With the API key, you get 1 million points before having to pay. So with those 1 million points, you could do a lot of data downloads, and I've used up a lot of my points actually for SWIA's downloads, but I still have a few left over. So that kind of gives you the scope of how much where that points could take you. Every parameter that you want to look at. So let's say you want to look at just PM. That has a number of points per row. So every row that you see up here, you would have to pay like 1.4, if that makes sense. If you're looking at PM, temperature, humidity, pressure, you'll use up your points very quickly. If you're looking at 3 years worth of data, you'll use up your points very quickly. So it's really strategic, but eventually it's basically a pay-to-play process, if that makes sense. In this case, you get 14 days of data for free. September 2nd, this actually gives you the average between the 2 chambers on the underbelly. So whoever has the Purple Air device will see the 2 chambers. There's a chamber A and a chamber B, and that's the air quality index of both. And normally these should be close together. If one's significantly higher than the other, there's an issue because it's from the same sensor. So that's kind of what you can do with the Purple Air download. But I can talk to folks. I guess we have 14 minutes left. I don't want to lose time on other slides, but I can definitely walk you through the creation of that API key for your organization. Yes.
Share the slides.
Yeah, definitely. I'll save it. I think it's definitely nice to go over the Purple Air. I want to go over at least the C12 monitor as well. We can skip over the Quant AQ modular because I haven't used them.
The other quick question is how the official has juxtapositioning the data and then localize some devices versus stable or stationary.
So we actually haven't used them together yet. we've used them separately. So we've done mobile monitoring. So in Bladensburg, Maryland, we've done mobile monitoring, then we've done stationary monitoring, but like at separate times. If that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Are they? So we did that. And then for the sake of time, I'm going to skip over this one and go right into the C12 black carbon monitor. So this is developed by Met1 Instruments. Sorry, speaking to the mic. Developed by Met1 Instruments. They call this a portable device, but we are at Siege have kind of adapted to be stationary. It's fairly larger. It's about the size of a treasure chest. Right here. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Bring it up for everyone to see. But basically, it's tape based, and I'll bring this up in the middle. I'll put this in the middle in a bit. But what essentially happens is you have this interior. You have two tape sides. You insert a filter tape onto the left, and then that tape will slowly move over to the right. And as it moves over, so as it moves from left to right, black carbon will deposit onto the tape. There's built-in cellular service to upload this data directly to a link, and the user will get a customizable link with their data. So these are just some instructions on what to do. It's relatively simple. You kind of just connect this top piece right here. You have this bulb, you have this tube right there, and then you just pull this inlet tube out. Initially, this will be here, and then you'll have these two parts separately. So this tube and this bulb, you can just kind of fasten it, and then place it into this hole right here, and then you screw this. So fasten, and then that's how it collects. So this will actually be closed when you're collecting the data. But I'm just showing you all the interior and how the filter tape works. So like the purple air, you need to plug it into place. Yeah, this power cable right here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. Cellular, yes,
So, that's a shield, that's between the cores, not the.
weatherproof. It's weatherproof.
So,
Yep. Solar radiation shield. And then there's built-in cellular service, so you don't even need Wi-Fi. So this helps when we place the device.
you still need a power source.
Need a power source, yeah.
So this is strictly for, industry.
Black carbon. So whatever, it can be used for mobile and stationary sources. No, residents. We are gonna deploy this in Chevrolet soon. We have 5 sites in Chevrolet that are gonna receive the black carbon monitor as such. But we need to identify whether we want to use a tripod like this or if we want to get locks to ensure security. That's our number one concern because this is bigger than the purple air. It's going to be a lot more, I guess, conspicuous when we put it up. We were thinking about that as well. So we have commercial venues, and they actually have on the rooftop they have power sources, and yeah, it's pretty easy to do that. For residences, that's the number one concern. How are we going to ensure security and ensure it's not cumbersome for the resident to kind of have a big treasure chest outside of their home? Yes, ma'am. $3,400 for everything. 3,000, I think, without some of the perks. Yeah, yes, sir.
So, what, the monitor. So,
It would, but there is a industrial corridor, and I think we might have a resident of the area on our audience who might be able to elaborate on that if you'd like, ma'am. On Chevrolet. Yeah, I mean, it's the general area, the greater Chevrolet area. Seat Pleasance also. So sir was asking about there's a lot of green space.
what would be the difference if there were a lot of green space between the trees?
Oh, in general, so yeah, green space mitigates air pollution, black carbon, and PM. It has to do with the That we're unsure. We haven't looked specifically, but there is a statistically significant difference based on our research so far. But I would have to go back through my data and give you the numbers, like 10, 20%. But statistically, significantly, there was a difference. So we looked at green space versus residential, residential versus commercial. We also looked at the ward differences. So there's wards in Cheverly that have more green space, not completely, but they have parks. And that ward had statistically significantly lower PM 2.5 levels over the course of a year than the wards that had more industrial activity. And I have a slide on that from last year's Cheverly session from our symposium. And then I'll put my name. I think I have my contact information at the end, but we can exchange contact information too. So this is what the interior looks like, and I was just kind of showing, I think, Asada this earlier, is you have to ensure that the monitor is working. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. This is the control panel. So for folks, I think the best way to do this. Oh yeah, definitely. This is the power source. Obviously, it has to be plugged in. And what you want to do is once you plug it in, you're gonna press on the control panel. It's not gonna do anything now because there's no power. This one, if this turns green, it is running. If it's not green, it's not running. And these individual 2, 3, and 4 on the panel indicate what the failure is. So if the tape's weird, the tape breaks, it'll say tape failure. If it's not detecting anything, it'll say tape failure. And based on that, we provide the corresponding maintenance. And we can contact Met1 as well, because they have expertise on working your case one day.
So with the tape, is that something you can fix or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually more straightforward than I thought. So there's a filter tape that comes with the sensor. It's part of the purchase. You get 2 extra ones removed. So this has to be replaced every 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
So this tape is going to run through this side. So you're gonna get the tape, and you're gonna, like you're opening up normal tape, you're gonna pull it through here, and then sit on this side, and this is gonna actually rotate. So once this will actually rotate slowly. So it'll pull the tape across, and then the black carbon will deposit on the tape, and that's what the cellular service is working on. And this tape will run out after about 2 months. So this requires a little bit more maintenance. Site visits. But
Do you know how much tape you use? If you look at this is how much data I got, so
yeah, so that's a really good question. I'll have to get back to one that is actually very useful. The one you see with that you sound collected.
Is it hard? What's the collection rate?
The collection rate,
Because there's so
every
many.
minute, once a month. So it's faster than a purple. And even if there's an issue with the cellular thing here, it uploads 2,816 data points onto, I believe there's on sources like backup function. So you have data points now.
So instead of like with our air, with our purple air, we have to do this. Instead of having that, this is a little bit more advanced.
oh, it doesn't.
Purple air, but this one automatically does.
So it's on the actual hard drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a hard drive?
Yeah. And that again, so normally like I work with Wacom's, and these are expert when it comes to the hardware and stuff, so you can definitely use your question. So we gotta download runs. I do the data analysis and or questions will go to him. I'll make sure that his contact info is also.
Data analysis, so you use Tableau?
We use SAS, some R as well.
just because I'm more comfortable, but I know perfect is better speaker. SAS is really comfortable. People in our center. Okay, since
So in terms of like the amount of time, because I know you spend a lot of time analyzing our data from the curriculum, is this as intensive or like you say, okay, you
about
do
the
it,
same.
it's what?
About the same. Just like purple, where you get customizable and then we'll also give you the downloadable CSV file.
Okay, okay. So you can make presentation.
And that's the next step. So what we're gonna do as soon as we can after this post is bring this to Chevrolet. So we have residents for the post. It's gonna be who's there power. So this knows our
Yeah,
clients
that's what
on
I was
the
saying.
Chevrolet. Yeah, it's called this know. And she's gonna let this sit in her yard and this kind of stuff. She's on the front yard.
Okay, I was looking at the. It's a month for us to say like, okay, you are doing a 37 kind of child line.
Yeah, we can do the cover. It doesn't hurt the first time. It's good for everything. But it might be university. But we're also university. There's we don't want to get into that whole process. Yeah.
All right, so then we follow up to the kind of courtesy map, and then we can have a fun running. Right?
That's perfect. Any elevated surface of a rooftop would be perfect. Of course, it didn't have a you just put this out there with the perfect. That's a new thing.
So, it's
So
like,
I would say you have to use like the record site.
yeah, yeah. Somebody, the mayor let somebody develop the land.
So the
We haven't had monitoring the last, 6 years. Crazy. Crazy. So nobody, so the air's not being monitored.
my our operations is probably a half to 12 out of 12, but I'll take more questions with the C4. We'll end with the C4. Whatever purple air, C12. Oh, yes. She's one of our students too, so she's also learning.
I have like a 2 more questions, right? Do these other monitors have like some like corporate like data map where you can download because you can do that?
So the mobile monitors, that's a good question, actually. Since we talked about them, these will download directly to your phone. So you need the app.
Oh,
Does everybody have an iPhone or Android?
I haven't Android.
No, there's. I have different. Wait, I'll have directions for this.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh. So this is kind of like what it gives you. Okay. So this measures VOC. So we talked about using both mobile and stationary devices. So you can measure PM, your device. This measures VOC, so you can kind of pull up to your own devices. But there is a version of this. It's like the Apple II Pro or Plus, which I've been trying to get off most of the purchase, but sometimes for these things. For this. But only for this. Everything else is. It only costs $170. And the new one measures both PM and VOC. So this measures PM and VOC. So you could not this one, but the Apple II or Pro, one of those two. It's online. So you can measure the PM with the purple there, and then you can also measure the VOCs as well, the volatile organic content.
Yeah, it's interesting that we have a brownfields project with the surface level.
I think because this measures both, why not?
Yeah.
Or the update, not this, the update.
Okay. And so, what I don't want to forget, how are you going to remember to send the slide?
I'll send it right after, before I leave.
Okay, cool.
I have your contact info.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that I want to measure that you can put
Yes. I have all your emails, so I know everybody in this room.
So, and also
This
like
is
you
such
have
an
my,
intimate.
and you have my email as well, so you can, if I don't, you can remind me, and then I don't send it to you, remind me to send it again. So it works out. But really quickly, directions, if you're gonna purchase the Atwood 2, this is the app, it's the Atwood 2. It looks like this little mesh right here. iPhone on the left, Android on the right. If you don't have either or, I apologize. Sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
We're trying to make this very user. We're doing we did a trial run in a international high school at Largo, high school students, and they were able to get. They go on, they're on the phone 24/7 now. They
Right.
go to the app store, bam, bam, bam. Oh, this is what it's get done, download that. That's it. They're already ready to go. And they're excited because it's technology. And
So, in fact, good job.
Hello. This measure